one of the other things I talk about a lot is this kind of concept of like the front row, right? Find your front row people. There's always going to be an audience to all that you do. No one matters more than the people who are sitting on the front row. And plot twist, the people who are sitting on the front row, there's not like a ton of them. I think that's a big misnomer of like, oh, I have like 20 best friends. No, you don't. Like, if you do, you're probably not known that well. Like, your front row should be 2 to 4 people max who know you intimately. They know all the things that make you tick. You know, so much of my work as a therapist has really come about because of my own personal work that I've done with my own therapist and my own coach throughout the years. And a lot of people will be like, oh, you know, who does your marketing at Sunshine City Counseling or Eastern Shore Counseling or whatever? I'm like, me, Olivia. And it isn't this, you know, intricate, elaborate plan when I think about how to market a counseling practice or how do you talk about therapy? How do you sell the product, right, of therapy and ask people to come work with you specifically? And it really, at least for me and for us at Sunshine City and Eastern Shore, it's really this kind of organic, natural thing that one of our kind of core beliefs is, you know, that we are doing our own work, that the things that we say outside of our lives or even in the therapy office are also the things that we're doing behind the scenes in our own kind of personal worlds. And one of the things that, you know, kind of has come about, I guess, over the last couple of years in my own therapy personally was this concept of, you know, you can do hard things, Olivia. And I think it's not a new concept, right? I didn't come up with that phrase. Lori, my coach, didn't come up with that phrase on her own. It's not this new kind of thing. And yet it really struck a chord with me because I think there are times for sure in my life where I am faced with an opportunity or maybe a decision, and it feels really scary. And I don't know if I can do it. And so part of it, you know, at least for me, that really struck a chord when Lori and maybe some of my other therapists, you know, in the past have said, like, Olivia, you can do hard things. It was this sense of, I am more capable than I think I am. And so there are a couple things that would be helpful when you think about the phrase that you can do hard things, that I would hope that you would walk away from this episode with. And the first is, you have to stop waiting to be unafraid. Like, if you are waiting to make a decision or to do something and you're waiting for the time, you're like, well, I'll do that when I'm not scared. I'll do that when I feel more secure in myself. I'll do that when I'm not so terrified and I want to poop my pants. I'm telling you, that time literally is never going to come. And you will waste months, minutes, years, a lot of emotional toil waiting for that time to come that it will never come. So you have to stop waiting to be unafraid. You have to do it scared. Do it afraid. Elise Myers talks about this a lot. She is kind of like this TikTok, Instagram, you know, self-helpy, you know, kind of like the everyone's therapist kind of person, or everyone's best friend, I think is how she's kind of known as. So if you don't follow Elise Myers, she's awesome. But she talks about this. She struggles with pretty significant anxiety. And she talks about on her channel of just do it scared. Just do the thing afraid. You know, and I think that combined with like you can do hard things, at least for me, has been really helpful because there's so many different things that I'm like, there's absolutely zero chance that I'm going to make that out alive. I will probably pass out in the midst of giving that speech or in the midst of doing that thing, or who am I? I can't like make a course and talk about relationship stuff, or like who would want to come do a retreat with me and learn about codependency? Like, you know, all these like limiting beliefs. And it's like, okay, but like, what if I just do it afraid? Because then I can do it. And then I can do it again. And when you do that over the course of time, right, like that is what builds resiliency. It's being faced with a new thing and looking back on my life and seeing, you know what, I may not have done this exact thing before, but I've done something really similar. And some of the emotions that are present now were present in the past, and I got through that. Okay, so that tells me, self, I can do this. Another thing that I think is really important in order for you to be able to do hard things, right, is for you to find your support in your community. One of the other things I talk about a lot is this kind of concept of like the front row, right? Find your front row people. There's always going to be an audience to all that you do. No one matters more than the people who are sitting on the front row. And plot twist, the people who are sitting on the front row, there's not like a ton of them. I think that's a big misnomer of like, oh, I have like 20 best friends. No, you don't. Like, if you do, you're probably not known that well. Like, your front row should be 2 to 4 people max who know you intimately. They know all the things that make you tick, that make you poop your pants, that make you freak out. Your limiting beliefs, your self-deprecating thoughts, all of the things, right? In order for you to do hard things, you have to be rooted and grounded in a community to find support. If you are picking up what we're putting down, we would love it if you could drop us a review wherever you're listening and subscribe. It helps other folks find us and helps us spread the word that it is okay to not be okay. All right, enough about this. Let's get back to the show. Like, I was just talking about this recently with several folks that I work with, and I'm like, it makes it really difficult to go and face a really hard decision and not feel like you have a net to catch you, because you're going to fall. And it is going to be really difficult. But to have someone that you can call after you do the scary thing, that doesn't even have to say words, they can just be on the phone with you because you're crying or you're just stunned. Right? Like Henry Nouwen, one of my favorite Dutch theologians, he talks about this a ton in all his different books. Like, it's not the people when you are faced with either a scary decision or a life-altering event or trauma or anything like that that has anything to say that really makes an impact. It's the people who can come alongside you in those moments, who can sit on the couch next to you and just be with you. Like, I remember when my brother passed away, the beginning of my sophomore year during finals, when I was in college. And it was everything that you would imagine. It was terrible, times 1,000. And the things that I remember are not the things that people specifically told me. The things I remember about that day when I got that phone call in that hallway with my back against the wall. And I remember sliding down the wall and slumping over into the floor. It was my roommate, Sarah, who was standing right there, who didn't even have to know specifically what news I just got on the phone. But I just remember she got down on the floor and sat right next to me and put her arm around me as I was just undone. It wasn't anyone who had any like nice things to say to me or I'm praying for yous or I love yous or anything like that. It was, that night I remember going into the common area of my hall, and that room was filled up with people who were just sitting there holding me. Like, we didn't say anything. We just sat together. That's what you need in order to do the hard things, in order to move into the direction of where you know you're being called into, but it's terrifying and it's scary. Another thing that I think has really been helpful for me is the question, what is the story that you're telling yourself? Right? Like, we all have that thing that we tell ourselves that keeps us terrified, that keeps us from doing the thing, that keeps us kind of locked and small and, in the proverbial closet. What is that you're telling yourself? Why can't you do that thing? Why can't you be the person who has the hard conversation? So what happens if you break that relationship off? Because I can almost guarantee you that the things that you tell yourself to yourself, right, like in your mind, they become way less scary when you say them out loud. And they also sound like kind of like low-key ridiculous. Like, maybe I won't actually like die if I, get up on that stage and give that speech. But I will feel like it, Like, what is the story that you're telling yourself that is keeping you from doing the hard things? I think the concept behind you can do hard things, I love it because it's so, on one hand, obvious. You can do hard things. Like Glennon Doyle, she loves it. She named her whole podcast after it. But I think on the other hand, it's so personal and it gets so personalized, And so I would be curious to know, like, what does that look like for you? Right? Because the story that it has really kind of attached to in my own life of like, you can do hard things, I'm sure is far different than what it's looked like for you. What is it that you are putting off? What hard conversation? What scary work thing that you're not doing? What thing could help you leverage up in your business or personally in relationships that you are just, no, I can't do that because I'm this kind of person. I'm not the person to do that thing. But why not? What if you just did it afraid? What might happen? I remember too, one of the times in my own kind of personal work with my coach, she said, Olivia, I think what's really going on is that you are afraid of your own greatness. And that honestly, like, kind of took my breath away. And I think I probably started crying. I was like, it is terrifying, right? And exhilarating and terrifying to think about if I did that hard thing, if I did that scary thing, it would then mean I'm stepping into this, being this person. But I've always seen myself as this other person, probably small. But like you and me, we weren't created to take up a tiny little space in the room. We were created to fill the spaces in which we occupy. So by you not doing the hard thing, is it because you are scared and afraid of your own greatness, of what you could be, of who you ultimately know that you are created to be and to step into, and you just aren't because it's scary? Because maybe you've always been the person who self-sabotages. Maybe you've just always been the one to be single. Maybe you've just always been the one to just have a mediocre business. Maybe you've just always been the one to like date the type of person that you've just kind of historically dated. But like, what if it wasn't? What if you could be something else? What if you could actually step into the person that you were created to be? That you would honor yourself in that process and your story, and knowing that you, my friend, can do hard things. I'm just going to leave it there because I need to remind myself that I can do hard things too. And you can do hard things. So I'm going to get out of here. And just remember, you can do the hard thing. I'll see you soon. Bye. Thanks so much for spending some time with us here on A Safe Place to Land. Could you do me a favor, actually, really quick? Could you leave us a review wherever you are listening to this and subscribe so that you never have to miss an episode whenever we drop it? If at any point in time you're like, man, it would be so cool to work with the team at Sunshine City Counseling, you can always find us at sunshinecitycounseling.com. We serve the state of Florida, and we are located in the downtown community of St. Petersburg, Florida. If you are in or around the Portland, Maine area, you can find us at easternshorecounseling.co. We really believe that every single person is deserving of excellent mental health care. You are not a problem to be solved or fixed. You are a person to be served. We are here for you, so don't hesitate to reach out. Until next time, we'll see you guys later. Bye.